product essentially is a representation of each one of your work, what you have done so well, and therefore congratulations to all of you and to SK for putting these cards together. This is a wonderful compilation of innovations that has been done. I will share with you 5 principles that might help us achieve sustainability in our interventions and 10 operational lessons from the Honeybee network. But before that, let me mention what I learned already. Shri was mentioned about the inertia. If I just take one word from his talk, it was inertia. Designs developed hundreds of years ago have continued to be used without any change. A society which lives with the problem unsolved indefinitely is doomed. And I think it was a very, very precise definition of the problem. We cannot anymore continue the inertia in our designs the way we have done it so long. So it's a wake-up call to everybody, and I thank you for that kind of attention that you draw. Mr. Ramireddy's idea of water budgeting, I mean, you mentioned about how much difference does it make in terms of drops, in terms of liters, in terms of kiloliters, in terms of million liters, if you bring about small changes. So Dana Kishore was mentioning about the citizen movement and how you have mobilized people. I was seeing those pictures where residents of various societies have got together and are trying to popularize the movement of saving water. Although in due course I would expect that nobody will be given building use permission without having a rooftop water harvesting system. Rajasthan has done it. I would request Warangal should do that, and probably you should also kindly help us that nobody will get a building use permission when you construct a building unless and until you have provided for underground water storage from the rooftop water harvesting, because this is a requirement. This must become a requirement, and we must do. Every society during the renewal of various permissions must give the budget, water budget. Every society, there should be a board outside in urban areas, what is the water budget of last year. And that will make it everybody aware, and then give awards. You have mentioned some of the societies which have achieved wonderful results. Give awards to those who are net zero. That means they contribute more water than they take. You know, NRD campus, I think, or managed one of these campuses had done that. They were trying to make all the water in their campus stored and not let any drop out. So we must create a concept, just like net zero energy we are trying to do, we should also make net zero water, so that there's nothing which goes up. Today we talked about benchmarking, and I like that very much. A society which benchmarks is bound to go forward, because then we know how far we are from the benchmark that we have created. I would very much wish that the posters next year, in the next conference, also create benchmark. So whatever technology that you have, if you can put down against the 5 best that you know in that domain, how do you stand? In what feature you are ahead of others? In which feature you are at the same level? And in which functionality or feature you are behind others? So that the decision maker, the policy maker knows in what conditions, for which feature, how much trade-off they should make while selecting a particular solution. It will make the task of policymakers easier if the benchmarking was done by you rather than by them. Now, they will also have to do it. Ultimately, when they have to procure solutions, they will have to do it. But before they do it, I think each innovator should do that. So every poster next time should have a column of benchmark where you give citations of the top technologies that are there, comparable to your offering, and mention in which area you are ahead of us, in which area you are behind. So therefore, what you did for the benchmarking for the different goals that you had, I think the similar thing will have to be done by these. Mr. Patnaik talked about platform, how the platforms have to be created. And we mentioned about a center which could do this for the whole country. If so much of energy that Telangana government has brought together, if after all this scrutiny, all this trial, all this testing, there could be a central government stamp of approval, then it will become easier for public procurement. For the whole country, it will become easier. You don't have to go through all this scrutiny in every state, time and again. As an entrepreneur, you will get tired of this process. So I think this is a very important thing. I will strongly support this initiative. Just like ARI does for automobile, there are different agencies which do for different sectors. For wash sector, let there be a platform created with your knowledge partnership which will do this certification, so that you become eligible for public intervention or for orders at a single tender without having to compete and bid for others. Mr. Mishra talked about synergy, and he also mentioned about the use of traditional knowledge at the end of his session, which I think is very important. I'll begin there with a story. 2000 years old, there was a teacher who asked a student to bring a glass of water. So the student went, brought the glass of water. Teacher took the water, gave the empty glass to the student. Student went back and kept it in the kitchen. He called him back. Tell me, what did you do? Sir, you asked me for a glass of water. I gave you the glass of water. You took the water. I went back and kept it in the kitchen. No, tell me, what did you do? And he will ask this question, and the student will repeat it 4 times, 5 times. Then after that, suddenly the student says, now I know what I did. So what did you do? Sir, you asked me for a glass of water. I gave the glass of water to you. You drank the water. You gave the glass back to me. While going to the kitchen, I dropped just a few drops on the ground. The moment he mentioned just a few drops, he got his zen. 2000 years ago, there was no shortage of water. For next 1900 years, there was not going to be any shortage of water. Why is this teacher creating a parable for saving even a drop of water 2000 years ago? That's what wisdom is all about. That's what Buddha did. And I think we will have to realize that a society which cared about saving a drop of water suddenly has become so careless, as was mentioned by the last speaker. So we will have to learn to cherish those values which have helped us to conserve our water body for such a long time. Gandhiji, whenever anybody came for participating in freedom struggle in the Sabarmati ashram, the first task he gave, he said in the morning, pick up this bucket and the broom and go and clean the toilet. People said, but I have come to participate in freedom struggle. What has got this toilet cleaning to do with the freedom struggle? He said, first sublimate your ego. Go and just clean the toilet. And it took some time for people to understand that if I don't understand the value of drainage, dignity of labor, people who clean our systems, that is why he called them Harijan. But unfortunately, we have just neglected them for such a long time. So it is very important for us to see what values will guide our processes of technological absorption and diffusion. So let us talk about 5 key principles that will help us in sustainability of all the innovations that you have done. First is, earlier in the pipeline of delivery system, you have an innovation. Larger is the prospect of it becoming sustainable. You will agree that majority of the innovations are at the end of the pipeline solution, which is important. Sometimes you have no choice but to start with the end of the pipeline. But we must keep in mind that is not the sustainable way of doing things. We should begin at the early pipeline, beginning of the pipeline. So that is the first lesson, that we must move. Today, I just did some analysis last night. About 70% solutions were of end of the pipeline. Waste disposal by different methods, by plants, by treatment, by chemicals, by filtering, whole range of methods were given. But they were all at the end of the pipeline, not trying to see as to how do I reduce the waste? How do I eliminate the use of much water? How do I engage the physicist who will design such surface of the toilet seat, toilet pot, that it will be hydrophobic, so that with much lesser water cleaning will be done. We have not even started on that path. We have not engaged our scientific community to design hydrophobic surfaces for the toilet, isn't it? But we must do that. That challenge will have to be given, and I will come to that, how challenge award will have to be constituted. The second point that I would like to mention, which helps sustainability, is greater the adaptability in the design by the user, higher are the chances that innovation will be adopted. Don't say take it or leave it. Don't give just fixed design. Provide malleability in the design. Provide a possibility where people can modify. Grassroots innovations are characterized by this flexibility. That is what gives resilience to the ecosystem. So please do not make your design so fixed that the user cannot make any changes or adaptation in that. The third point is large-scale user testing is must. Dr. Patnaik was there earlier in Agriculture Ministry. He knows how agriculture transformation of our country took place. Large-scale on-farm trials of new varieties, of new technologies made it possible for country to achieve self-reliance. Why can't we adopt that lesson from agriculture sector for the wash sector? But please understand, these trials innovators or entrepreneurs cannot do. This is state's responsibility. Each one of you who are present here, all the policymakers will have, so for example, in Warangal, if you have 500 or 200 resident societies, install different models in different societies. That's them, generate data. This data you will need at the time of public procurement, but innovators cannot generate this data. We will continue to blame them that look, you have only done 2 cases, for 2 demonstrations are not enough, but he can't do 20, there's no funding for 20. So we will have to think about how do we do large scale testing of the ideas that you have developed to generate data which makes your claim robust, but also help the policymaker to make judicious choices, because after all public interest is involved and public funds are involved. They will have to demonstrate that they have done due diligence and use the data of sufficient rigor, of sufficient detail, which will make the decisions mature. The fourth is bundling versus blending. Technologies that are bundled together have greater chance of sustainability than which are blended. In a blended solution, you can't separate the component. In bundled, like a salad, you can separate carrot, you can separate spinach and other things. So we need to give choices to the users of features. You have a mobile phone, there are 1,000 other things that you can add on to that platform. Don't try to add all features in every solution. It becomes costly, it becomes difficult to maintain, and it becomes difficult to sustain. So it is very important that we try to have bundled choices for the consumers. Different consumers with different depth of the pocket will like to bundle different features in their solutions. In many cases, you have not given those choices. So tell me 10,000 rupees model, 15,000 rupees model, 20,000 rupees model, 25,000 rupees model, and depending upon my choice and depending upon how rich the society is, a particular housing society is, they will choose those models and then maybe give them upgradation possibilities. So begin with this, and if you like it, we will add on the next feature in this. Maybe from filtration, we can also do the decontamination, maybe do other things that are possible in this regard. So it's very important that we recognize the value of bundling. Step by step. You know, in olden time when houses were built, you built one room, then another son became grown up, then you built another room, then you did the staircase. That is how the houses were built. We have a tradition of bundling choices. The last principle, the fifth principle of sustainability is very important because that requires real mindset change. We have heard circular economy being mentioned many times, but you know, circular economy also implies using of second-hand parts. You have to appreciate that, for example, in auto sector, when a lot of farm machinery innovations took place, when they took the second-hand parts from the auto sector, the axle, the gearbox, and so on, other things, because their life was longer than the life of the vehicle. Similarly, if drums can be used, empty drums can be used, why do I have to make a pit or make a can? So let us encourage use of second-hand parts wherever possible without compromising with the quality of or efficiency of the process, so that the empty drums of coal tar and other drums can be used for making our technologies affordable. And these are the 5 key principles that we might follow so that our solutions become much more robust. Now let me come to the 10 lessons that we can easily absorb, maybe use to you. The first is that if we did not have funds for most of the grassroots innovations to be tested, as I said earlier, under different conditions, we would not have been able to assess their eligibility for awards. So before awards, we used to do testing for the innovations, because then we have our own data, and I had its own data to establish the confidence not only in the mind of the innovators that are there, but also because President's name was associated with it. So if government is putting its name behind certain innovations and that name is going to be then carried forward by the national approval, then nation will have to have sufficient guarantee that it is working the way it is claimed. And that better done under your supervision. That is better done under the conditions in which you have control of some of the environmental variables, so that you can look at the endogenous and exogenous variables and measure them. So that I think is very important. Second thing is, we need 4 kinds of funds to be created to help all these innovators sitting here. The first fund is, which will procure from you whatever proof of concept or a prototype that you have and get it installed in 15 different places and find out what the results are. Just a simple validation of whatever claim is, so that we can say, and the innovator will also get a chance to prove whatever they have done. Second fund is value addition. Having done the testing, you will come across the feedback. There are things that have to be improved. And you may not have enough R&D funds to be able to improve it. We must give value addition and research and development fund. We call it WARD, VARD. So first stage is testing. Second is testing and validation. Second is value addition. Third stage is risk capital. We need to create micro venture innovation fund, which will invest in the entrepreneurs, businesses, either you as an innovator or somebody else who is going to scale up your business, who will then be able to try it out under different conditions. It's a risky work. You have never done it before. This is the first time you are doing business. When a product does not have a market, you need risk capital. When a market exists, you need a microfinance or other kinds of banking finance. So whenever there is a risky technology which has not yet proved itself in the marketplace, we must create a risk fund. And the fourth stage is for scale-up fund, various kinds of working capital finance and other things. You know, there was a resolution passed at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in Festival of Innovation during Shri Padma's time that every bank will finance one innovation. A circular was issued by the Reserve Bank. That didn't happen. Banks are very averse to finance innovations. All of you need working capital. So either we create a separate window with SIDBI and try to see whether that window can finance all these people at the scale-up stage. Or else we must motivate the bankers, bring them together and mention that in the state level bankers committee I will monitor. I mean, as an administrator, as a finance secretary can say that, how many innovations did you fund last year? If you did not fund the innovations in your banking activity, then how will they get working capital finance? So 4 kinds of funds we need for taking the innovations ahead. Without this, it will not happen. The third is mobile exhibition of technologies. You know, you are having an exhibition here, but the action is called for in the housing societies. We need to take van with these posters and models of these designs and take them to different housing societies and different localities so that people can see these designs. Otherwise, unless they see it, they will not be able to adopt it. So mobile exhibitions, we do Shodhyatras, as many of you might know. I have walked in all the states of the country. And during these Shodhyatras, we carry with us posters, we hang them on the rope, and people can see them right away. So this mobile exhibition is a viable concept. We have done it after walking for 6,000 kilometers. We have tested its efficacy. It will work in your case also. You cannot go everywhere, but the mobile van will go everywhere and will take those innovations every place. The fourth lesson that we have from our network, which may be useful, and I can tell you that this is something you might find clear, but I am a great fan of this idea, which is to engage children. We organize idea competition among children. Let us say we organize on wash, and a child comes out with an idea which you have implemented. After they come out with an idea, you show them this innovation. You imagine what the great excitement the child would have. Oh, I could think of a solution which happened by people 10 times older than me, or 5 times older than me, and that will boost the confidence that I could anticipate a solution that the experts have designed. Nothing builds the confidence of child more than that. Or sometimes you realize, my God, you have thought of this solution and I haven't thought about it. To give you an example, we have stayed in schools during our Shodhyatra. All of us, the Shodhyatris, saw that drinking water point in the village school was like this, a pipe which had taps. I have children, many of you have children, and it never occurred to me that a small child can't reach the height of the tap. Right? But I did not do anything about it. I did not notice this problem. Chaya Thakur, class 7, during a competition that we did with P. Swarup, who was the collector at that time of Kalinagar district, she said, why don't we kill the pipe? The smaller kids will drink water from here, the taller from here, taller from here, taller from here. That was the solution that girl could think, and I could not think. With all my knowledge, for 70 years, this country did not think of this solution. So there are simple solutions the children can think about. Don't think them as a sink or sermon. They can be source of ideas. And I'm very excited about this possibility. They are also our future leaders. So if we engage them now with this mission, they will be the ones who will carry this forward as a part of internalized value rather than as an external imposition. Please do try to think about that. The next point is about how do we scale up the diffusion of message. There are 1.5 lakh post offices in the country. There are 650,000 villages. There are 25 million people traveling by train every day. Let us look at mass contact as road transport. State road transport would also have maybe not less than 2 to 3 million people traveling every day, maybe more. If these buses, these trains, these post offices can become the vehicle for us to diffuse open source solutions of WASH, We will reach all the villages in no time, but within a year we can reach. So let us think of mass contact means of communication which exist and are not being utilized today by us. One village, post office, 4 villages, 1.50 and 650,000. So 4 villages covered by one post office, we can reach every single. In Gujarat, we did an experiment with the Postmaster General. They charged us 5 rupees to deliver 3 posters in every village and pasting them at 3 places. So 18,000 villages in Gujarat, 5 rupees charging 90,000, plus 90,000 for printing. In 1,80,000, we reached every single village with 3 posters, one on the milk collection center, one panchayat, one in a school. And the charges of paste and the glue was included in this 5 rupees. We could do that. We can get our messages reach every single village of Telangana. So that the designs of those which are open source design I am talking about, where people can look at your design and copy it and adapt it. Those designs at least can be communicated and with robust messages to every single village in 2020, so that when next year we meet, we will see how many of them triggered experimentation by people. That will be a great success, isn't it? If people could try that out. So we can use mass contact possibilities. We don't have to do everything gradually. We don't have to do everything step by step. We don't have to do everything slowly. I believe that we must have some impatience. Impatience is the greatest attribute of a public administration system which is hungry for innovation. And I think in some sense, Telangana government has already proved its hunger by bringing you all together. So next step is only little part. The next challenge is very important. Gandhiji in 1929, 24th July, issued a challenge. The challenge was that he wanted Charkha to be redesigned. And the amount was 7,700 pounds, which is 1 lakh rupees at that time. Today its value will be 10 crores. I sent a copy to Dr. Padma and also to Mr. Mishra. That why can't we issue challenges specific to locations? You don't need one solution for Warangal. You don't need one solution for Mahbubnagar. We don't need single, because there are ecological variability, there are hard rock region, there are soft soil region. There are deep underground water, there are very close, high water table. How can we have the same design in every place? There are regions which are flooded during the monsoon, as I was explained to Professor Munshi in salt farming areas of our state, Gujarat, and in the summer they are completely dry. We will have to provide for different kinds of designs in different kinds of places. Many of you may not be familiar with these gaps in our system. So the public administration will have to issue these challenges, district level challenge awards, state level challenge awards, sometimes regional challenge awards, and the impact of these awards when all these innovators will come up with designs suited to your need. And this is something that we will have to do with this center or with the group that you are proposing. If Gandhiji could be so wise, in 1929, the first crowdsourcing competition in the world, please remember, and he made it open to anybody. Anybody in the world could apply. If you wanted award money, you will have to transfer even more creativity that has already been shown. Let me summarize by saying that I went to all the posters in the morning. And I realized that a lot of creativity has gone into. Is it possible that each of the innovators here becomes franchisee of other innovators? You get the point? If you are working in dry waste disposal and I am working in bio waste disposal, you don't lose anything by promoting my solution, isn't it? It doesn't compete with your solution. So can we not create an ecosystem where we promote each other's solutions? And that is the task that you will all have to do. The state will also do that. So for example, we can have open access galleries of innovations for different kinds of solutions in the city. Imagine if these posters could be displayed in a large font on the roads of Hyderabad, in places where a lot of students gather. They will take tea there, they will take coffee there, and they will also see these posters and get back and discuss among themselves, oh, that's a great idea, why don't I do something better? One suggestion I want to make, there must be, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana have the largest number of engineering colleges. I am told that Hyderabad itself has about 600 engineering colleges, one of the largest in any city in the country. These students do projects in the final year. Does anybody know what happened to those projects? So we created a platform called techpedia.in, techpedia.in. We have information about 200,000 engineering projects done by 500,000 students of our country, including IITs, NITs and others. So I would appeal that we should also engage young students of various colleges. We have tried to work with them and give awards to them. We give 15 awards of 15 lakh each with the help of Department of Biotechnology for Life Science Innovations. I'm sure similar awards can be instituted for WASH, by which you will unleash the creativity of the students. So let me mention that one, you will like the innovators should become the promoters of each other's innovation in the areas where you are working, so that the innovators can't set up a large distribution chain to begin with. Early stages, they don't have funds, they don't have manpower. If we all become each other's promoter, our distribution chain is already built. We are all, in some sense, working like a collaborator in the ecosystem. In Honeybee Network, we try to do that. In the workshop of different innovators, we put the posters of different other solutions that people visiting their workshop can see. And we should do that, something similar here. We can also try to see whether the R&D institutions can be brought into picture. In next meeting, let us invite DRDO, let us invite CSIR, let us invite DBT, let us invite ICR and other institutions and various other associations to also showcase their technologies here. So that you've done a great job this time, but it can be done. Next stage will be to bring all the scientific institutions here. I will end with a story. Dr. Mishra, director of the Defense Lab in Gwalior, went to Antarctica, and they found that penguin who lived there, they couldn't find their excreta. So they were very intrigued. Why can't we find excreta of penguin? They went further into depth, and they recognized that actually there were microorganisms there, bacteria there, which decompose the penguin excreta very fast. Now we have a problem in Siachen. The human waste at high altitude and low cold temperature did not decompose, so the waste was lying there, and we had to bring that into place. They used that bacteria, brought it back to India, to mainland, and then mixed with other bacteria, and the birth of biotoilet took place. In Indian Railways, wherever you have biotoilet, they've all licensed the technologies of DRDO lab. Now, look at that, how solution came from, which observation from Antarctica, Siachen, biotoilet, trains, and now many other things. So I would request entrepreneurs and innovators to pay attention to such queer, unusual observations about way waste is being decomposed, digested. There's a huge number of people who are doing this. How can we engage them in this process and learn from those who are engaged in the value chain? Thank you so much.